All right, guys. I appreciate your patience. Just had to set up a couple of things that I wanted to include in the video besides just the unboxing. This is Nicholas with Auto Refocused here in Orlando, Florida. And this just came in yesterday. Didn't get an opportunity to even open the box yet because we were working with some clients that day. And so this, I have not opened it yet. I have waited about a month for these to come in. They were back ordered on Autorama. And so that give me the ability to kind of research and kind of get an idea of what we're going to be doing with these. We're really excited about this. We already own a couple of units from Godox, and this is going to make a great addition to what we have. So again, just in case you're not familiar, this is the Flashpoint Zoom Lion R2 TTL on-camera round flash speedlight for Nikon. Flashpoint is the official branding that Autorama has licensed from Godox. Godox is one of those unique companies that produces direct their own units under the Godox label, as well as licensing exclusively for Autorama, the Flashpoint brand, so that it's labeled specifically for Autorama retail. Um, Pricing isn't any different. Availability sometimes is with regards to that because inventories do vary based on the retailer. So there's a lot of controversy on the web right now with regards to this particular item in that the Profoto A1 is a very similar design, if not some would say identical design to what you see here. And of course, the big rub there is Profoto A1 is an $1,100 on-camera speedlight, and the Flashpoint, as you can see, is $259. So price notwithstanding, if you eliminated the dollar amounts between the two units, you're going to find that when you research online, both on YouTube as well as written articles and in actual performance, you're going to find that nearly all of those who have tested, unboxed, and compared these two lights side by side have found the Godox, just like the rest of the superseding models that Godox has introduced into the market, has been actually a very high quality piece and comparable to the value that you would get from branded speed lights such as Nikon or Canon or what have you. So a little bit of background before we actually open the box. We started out our career with the venerable SB700. These two that we actually own. I only brought one of them up here. We've had almost since the very beginning when we were learning off-camera flash. One of them fell and had to be repaired. They just keep going and going and going and going. SB700 is an on-camera flash, also with the addition of a pocket wizard. You can remotely control it for off-camera flash. It is powered by 4 AA batteries, and I did put together some specs and stats to compare them all side by side. And I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and put that on this screen to make it easier to see. So the SB700, as compared to the V1, has about 230 flashes for a fully charged set of batteries. The guide number, or essentially the output of the number, is roughly 1/3. This is roughly 1/3 of this, believe it or not. And it's pretty amazing because this right now, currently, even though it's been out forever, is still $325. So again, it is Nikon specific. And as you can see the specs there, the recycle time, full flash recycle time is about 2.5 seconds. The V1 about 1.5 seconds. The minimum power is at even more fine-tuned in the V1 as opposed to an SB700. 1/128th of a second for the SB700, 1/256 for the V1. The zoom within, if you're not familiar with flash, there is a flash unit here that actually has a motor that zooms in and out to match the focal length of the lens that you're using. You can see there there's 24 to 120 in FX format lenses. The V1 is 28 to 120, so very comparable. The flash duration, as you can see, is anywhere from 1,042 per second at full power, all the way down to 1/20th power is 40,000th of a second, about double that of the V1. Don't know how far down into that we would actually get. There is no high-speed sync available for an SB700 to help with those situations where you would want that. And it's about 16 ounces versus about 18.5 to 19 ounces for the V1. And again, the comparison with pricing there, as I said, it's about it's about $70 more for this Speedlight, which is 1/3 the power of the V1. Now, once we realized we needed more than 2 of these, we went ahead and got the most up-to-date Nikon Speedlight, which is the SB5000. The SB5000, as you can see on this particular column, again, same 4 rechargeable batteries, but it also gives you the ability to actually plug in a additional external battery pack, such as this. This one is from Bolt, or you can get the actual Nikon branded, which this allows 8 additional AA batteries to be added to the 4 that are there for even more flashes. Without this, the duration of those batteries is about 190 full power flashes with a 1.8 second recycle time. Again, this exceeds the cycle time. It exceeds the number of flashes. There is a weird thing that the original specs that originally came with the announcement of this unit was about 650 full power flashes, but the actual specs on Adorama are 450 or 480. And what is also kind of odd is that depending on where you look, if you click to the Canon version of this, it says the spread is 28 to 120. If you go to the Nikon or Sony, it says 28 to 105. I'm not sure why that would be different. It may be a typo in the Canon screen, but I've seen it in a couple of places. So if you have a Canon version of this and you can confirm those specs are in fact different from Nikon and Sony, that would be very helpful. Again, the SB500 is even lighter. Even though it's physically larger, it's even lighter than the SB700. But the weird thing is that this particular Speedlight is $600. Now, this particular Speedlight is broken. It took a pretty bad spill, and as you can see, the unit that zooms in and out is actually broken. So this is a $600 paperweight, which makes me very sad that I even bought it in the first place, because for $600, I could have bought at least 2 of these plus modifiers. So that again brought us to making a decision to have to replace this. We didn't want to go with SB700s because of the power levels were not sufficient for these. These are getting pretty long in the tooth for us. We certainly didn't want to spend $600 per Speedlight, and we usually use 3 in a reception setting. So rather than buy this, we actually went ahead and got 2 more of these that go with our 8200s. So let's go ahead and unbox this little bad boy and see what's inside here, and then we will take some first impressions about what is in here. So I see a nice user's manual that they came. It says specifically for Nikon. Comes with a wall adapter there. We'll put that right there. This looks to be looks like, if I can open this without ripping the bag, looks like a desk mounted or a desktop battery charger. It is a desktop battery charger, as you can see there. So I'll put that there. It comes with a USB-C type cord between this and this, which is great because that means I now have a phone charger besides the one I already have, and the battery, which looks very similar to the Nikon, like the ELN 15 batteries. They look very similar to that in shape and size and about the same weight. Obviously, it's a little different because it's specifically for the flash. This is the one real big selling point that I first thought was going to be really important, is I'm eliminating having to use and recharge a whole bunch of these and have those on hand, and I'm now actually moving to something that's obviously longer lasting, more flashes, at a minimum double the amount of flashes that these can do in the same event with even more power. So looks like we have the battery there. Looks like we have a stand-up foot. Comes pretty standard with most flashes. And then the unit itself comes out here, and looks like that's everything that's in the box. Let me go ahead and close up the box. There you go. we'll move that out of the way. So here's the case. Again, pretty standard case. Got a full strap here. Looks like it's got a little pocket in the back. And let's see what we have in here. Okay, first impressions, and I'll hold it upside down so it's right side for the camera. First impressions is it weighs, to me, okay, hold on there, Mr. Man. It weighs certainly more than the SB5. Oh, actually, you know what, let me get a fair comparison. Let me actually put the battery in. And it looks like the battery goes in, let's see, this side, this way. So that's the battery compartment that goes in there. It looks like that's the battery release. So with the battery, it's certainly more than the SB500, and it is certainly more than both of these, each one of these individually. It does feel pretty solid insofar as the way that the body itself feels. The screens, it looks like that the V1 or the R2 or whichever one you want to use, looks like the screen is fairly similar in size. It looks like it actually might be a little bit larger because the surround on this one where the cover is a thicker surround than this particular screen. It may very well be exactly the same. It looks like the controls are very similar types of controls that you would be used to seeing on a regular flash. One thing that the flash users will really appreciate is it actually has a lock where you actually push down on the gray and you twist it and it actually locks in place rather than a screw down, which you could over tighten and then cause some stress on the bottom half of the flash unit. I know that I've seen a couple of instances where these have taken some pretty bad spills, and this panel right here actually becomes detached from the back of the unit. It looks like it can actually be repaired that way, much the same way that you could on any type of a Nikon or Canon branded flash. The bottom is very similar with regards to the way that it's constructed with a pull-out panel. The weight, again, is real good. It actually feels pretty solid in the hand. One nice thing that they did make a note of is that this actually does allow for over the head reverse type, as I'll hold it straight here, reverse type angling if you're going to be bouncing off the ceiling straight and then full forward. And I can feel in there's some pretty nice indents inside there that you can feel it actually going into each of those positions. Let's see, there's one back, two, there's two back, three is kind of straight up, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then full down is 8. The original information about this was that there was going to be some kind of a laser head or some other crazy kind of thing in this space right here. And then they did say that when they got to actual production units, they switched it out for the standard type of grid. I'm not a big fan of the grid, although it's certainly going to be better than the remote grid that's for Godox because it's a pinpoint in the center and does not move with your cursor. The size of the flash, the size of the head itself, as compared to the size of, say, the SB500. Obviously, the width is the same, and the size of the from here to here is clearly larger, and it's a rounded shape rather than a rectangular shape. You would never want to assume that this is ever going to be like it's incorrectly promoted in other brands as a soft light source, because it's not. It's still a small light source. It's still going to be harsh without modifiers. The obvious addition is that there's a modeling lamp in the V1 as opposed to most flashes that come from camera brands. So again, in looking at the unit itself and in looking at what I see to be the big advantages for us, number one is rechargeable Li-ion batteries. I use the case for this, the square zip-off case for this is full of batteries right now. And I use 2 of those to transfer the batteries back and forth as I'm charging them. I now will not have to do that. I will simply have this. Now the other advantage is that built into this unit here, if you were going to use as off-camera flash or the SB700, it is much more challenging to do in a multi-flash situation. You are going to want to use a radio transmitter. We have pocket wizards. So in addition to this unit, you would then add an additional unit. So you have 4 batteries here, 2 batteries in a pocket wizard. All of them are on a stand based on the strength of this and the strength of the cold shoe or hot shoe plate of the pocket wizard. And so it's essentially that tall. What Godox has done is they have internalized their receiver and a transceiver inside these units, so they can run by themselves from the R2 remote just as you see it, just like this. And if you have it on your camera, you can actually use this as a transmitter to actually control additional units. And it has been an amazing advantage in not having to have multiple pieces with all these connections, and something's not right or something isn't firing the way it's supposed to. You have to take all those different connections apart to troubleshoot, all those batteries apart to troubleshoot, turn off, restart, and do all those things. With everything being built into the head unit, and I'm not certain why Nikon doesn't make a better effort to internalize either pocket wizards or some other type of radio transmitter inside the unit itself. With it all being one single unit, it just simplifies production. I basically slap a battery in here. I slap a couple of trip AA's into the transmitter for the camera. I give the transmitter to Marjorie. I set these up, and we're good to go. That's going to be very exciting. We're going to be able to use these as additional supplemental units for our 8200s when we do our next headshot event for the CFWA, which is coming up next week, if I'm not mistaken. So we were really hoping to get these in before that so we could do more. Again, as a comparison to an 8200, there's an 8200. And you can see on the screen right in, let's see, as you can see on the screen, my mouse has just decided to hide itself for some reason. And I don't know why. Okay, there we go. So this is the 8200. And as you can see, the 8200 is 520 flashes. This is 480. Move this bag out of the way. Obviously, there's 200 watts of power here. Not nearly as much in the Speedlight. So this would be our key light. This is going to be our fill flash or fill from the other side. So obviously, all the numbers are going to be higher. The recycle rate is better. And there is high speed speed between both of them, and this is obviously 2.5, 3 pounds for this particular unit, still with a Fresnel type head. You can certainly, there is a adapter that allows you to be able to change this out for a round head to actually match. They've made this head as an adapter that goes on here. If you're not familiar with a 8200, the head actually comes off, and you actually have a bare bulb adapter, as well as now you have the round head, which actually slides right in and be able to create a round head that matches specifically with the other. Also, again, lithium-ion batteries. So essentially, I'm dealing with 2 AA's in the transmitter. I'm dealing with 1 lithium-ion in here. That's good for. We've never run down these batteries in any event that we've used this at. And then, of course, the new one is going to be this guy, which I believe if I push this button, let's see. Yep, and then that comes out. So those are the 2 batteries I have to keep charged, rather than 4 and 4 and 4 and a pocket wizard 2 and a pocket wizard 2. You're talking between these 2 units, that would be 10 batteries that we would have to maintain and keep charged and keep rotated and know which ones go in and which ones don't. Now we just have 2 and we're good to go. Turn them on and we're ready to roll. We're super excited about being able to have these in addition to what we currently have. If you have any comments with regards to the Flashpoints, if you have any opinions or comments with regards to the Profoto versus the Godox, if you feel that this is a complete ripoff of a Profoto design and you feel that that's not right, feel free to comment below. If you feel that it's appropriate for Godox to do and improve on designs and to produce their own type of units in a similar way with the quality and the performance that they have provided over the years, then you could say that as well. I certainly appreciate both comments. The one thing I will say to that particular conversation is that a D5 or Canon equivalent is $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. And those who absolutely must have the reliability and the durability and the tank attitude of that type of body, they spend that money. We have D750s. We didn't spend $6,000 for each of their bodies, but they still do what those cameras do. If you can accept that a person who can't afford a D5 or the new coming D6 if it happens, but can buy a D750 is still capable of being respected for doing what they can do with less expensive equipment that is still high quality, then you should be able to accept the same thing with Speedlights. That's just my attitude. That's just how I feel about it. And I feel like rather than them doing just a cheap knockoff that really isn't worth the money, I have, in my experience, and having had these for a while, and now having these to add to it, I can tell you that this ecosystem is absolutely, to me, the most cost-effective ecosystem, more so than actual branded Speedlights, in my opinion, because again, this was $300, this was $250, so these two items, including internal controllers, was less than the cost of this, and I don't even have a pocket wizard attached to it, and I only have one. Again, when you do a cost analysis for the cost of these items, don't let the fact that they're less expensive than other items fool you into thinking that they're cheap. They're not. They're well built. They're well made. They have been very reliable to us. There are, just like every system has its quirks, they have their own quirks. If you have the remote control too close to the units, there'll be some trouble with firing, so you have to have a nice distance of at least 3 feet. That's pretty typical for radio controllers to have interference when they're too close to each other. But again, the simplicity and the benefits of having built-in batteries that are capable of sustaining what you need them to sustain, especially for event and wedding photographers, to me that is well worth not having to spend $1,100 on a Speedlight. And not to mention the fact, and again to belabor the fact, is that the ProPhoto, it says on one website up to 450, and on the B&H website it says 350 flashes. Whichever one it is, either one of those numbers is still less than the V1. The recycle time is clearly a little bit better at 1.2 seconds of full power versus 1.5, but not enough that I would want to spend 3 times the cost of this to get the same performance. That's the part that I look at is it really worth 3 times the cost of this unit? And again, it's even heavier. So, in conclusion, what I really want you to understand is that you should really consider learning off camera flash, and you can now eliminate the excuse of it's too expensive to buy all the pieces, it's too complex, it's too many things to have to learn, because you no longer have that excuse to lean on to say, well, I'll just stick with natural light, I'll just stick with available light because this is just too difficult. That was true up until the time that these units became available. Now all you need is a remote that goes on your camera, which, to be honest with you, the Pocket Wizard remote is $175. The remote for the ProPhoto, I think, is $500 or $600. Don't understand. And the remote for these is about $60. So you could buy 2 or 3 and just have one in the bag in case you skitter it across the concrete. You have a backup, and you still haven't spent as much money as Pocket Wizards. Now, again, I like Pocket Wizards. I think they're fantastic. They're just more expensive than this ecosystem currently. And so that's what I'm looking for, is simplicity. I'm looking, as the person supporting Marjorie in her shooting events and her shooting assignments, the easier and faster I can set up, and the faster I can be ready to provide the ability for her to shoot and light her images, that's better for me, less stressful for me, less complicated for me. We have Rogue flash benders. Rogue flash benders will fit on this unit. Rogue flash benders will fit on this unit very easily, so I don't have to change any of my modifiers. We have, that came with this unit, we bought 2 8200s and a B2 head, which basically allows you to attach 2 8200s in a single, so you basically have a single 400 watt key light. So for our upcoming headshot party, it's going to be very exciting because we're going to expand on the capabilities we had last year. We're going to have a 400 watt key light, and we're going to have 2, I don't know, there's not a wattage number in here, but again, even if they are half of that, that means they're about at least 100 watt on 2 of these to be able to provide even more illumination for our headshots. It just makes you more capable, and the more capable you are, the more you bring to the table, the more professional you are, the less you have to struggle with your equipment and fight with your equipment to do what you want it to do. In fact, the next video that's going to be coming out this week, I'm actually going to be setting up all of these pieces in a run through for our headshots. We're going to be doing an overhead beauty dish, which is called butterfly lighting, and it's going to be very exciting for us to watch. That's probably going to come out, I don't want to promise, but I'm thinking the weekend, maybe Saturday, because that's when we're going to have to practice, because I believe that the event is next Tuesday. So again, that's the unboxing of the Flashpoint R2 or the Godox V1. Wherever you purchase your from, that's what's going to be the name of the unit. I'm very excited of getting started with these. I can't tell you how happy we are with having something that is within a price point and approachable and affordable for a small business, and still give the capabilities of what these are supposed to provide. So the very next video that we're going to be doing and scheduling will be actually testing these out in a headshot setting. We're very excited for that. So from Auto Refocused, this is Nicholas Durante, and I hope that you guys really do your very best at every possible thing that you can do in your career and in your life and in the things that you work towards, because you don't get a second chance to get it right. We certainly appreciate that you guys are here, and we love you all, and you guys have a wonderful week.